The one thing I do have hope for is the fact that Frost figured out, it only took him 2 years to figure out, maybe three, that what he was recruiting here to run his system wasn't working. And then he
Yeah.
started getting some bigger dudes with similar speed, similar agility, but he grew his roster up. They got bigger. You know, the Wandale Robinsons, those guys are going to get killed in the Big Ten. So it's good to see him evolve a little bit. More notably, it's really good to see the fact that he understood that, okay, my offense is damn good in the Big Ten between the 20s, but it absolutely sucks at scoring once you get inside the 20. Unless he was hitting a 35, 40 to 50-yard touchdown play, we weren't scoring much inside the 20, especially last year when it really mattered. So he goes out, he gets Mark Whipple, a guy that has seen any and every possible defense you can see from the NFL to college football, and he's brought him in to run his offense. And at the same time, you've lost a 4-year starter at quarterback, and he's now at Kansas State. And now we've got Casey Thompson, we've got Chubba Purdy, and you've got a guy that's in many folks' minds is forgotten about, and Logan Smothers, who is an incredibly talented athlete. I think they're stupid if they don't figure out how to work him into the offense if he's not the starting quarterback. But yeah, we're looking at the quarterback race now. And Casey Thompson, at this point, many of the people are saying that he's kind of the presumptive starter, that it's his job to lose. And one of the comments, Frost, if I recall correctly, listening to one of the podcasts this week, made the comment that Casey's the first guy to go out there and take snaps with the number one offense, leaving open kind of the idea that he's not the only quarterback that's going to run out there to take snaps with the number one offense. Do you think there's actually a quarterback race at this point? I do. I think Chubba made enough strides in spring after he got healthy to let the coaches know that he's ready to go. He's ready to compete. And hey, Whipple recruited him. This wasn't a Frost recruit. This was a Whipple recruit. This was a guy that Whipple wanted at Pitt, and he got him here at Nebraska. So I think there's a race, and I think it's going to be interesting. I don't think we're going to know who the starter is, at least in my opinion. I don't think we're going to know who the starter is until the starter runs out on the field in Dublin. What do you think? Do you think we're going to know who that is?
I honestly, I think that there is a race going on. But if I were to try and like explain it, I would say that Casey is going to have to do something to lose that race more so than Chubba would have to do something to win it. Reason being is just because I think that Casey's got a little bit more experience. He's a little bit more matured. And it would be one of those things where he's probably the default starter. Like I would say it's almost certain that he's the default starter, but there is a very tiny gap, room for error for him to not be the starter. It would be, I would say that he starts in Dublin, and if it isn't going according to plan in Whipple's eyes, I would not be surprised if they're quick to pull him out and throw Chubba in there for a little bit. Because what we saw in the spring, once again, anecdotal, hard to really gauge what the spring game is really showing you. I do think that Chubba has an insane amount of athleticism. He is smart, concise. From what I could tell, he is good at making decisions. And so I don't think that Whipple is going to look at Chubba as a liability under any circumstance. So, and honestly, what I'm looking at it like is that Whipple he's not dumb. He's coming into a system that played the same guy for 4 years, and there wasn't much behind. Granted, there wasn't much behind Martinez to fill that gap for a lot of those years. And I feel like this is the first year where we can say that even all the way down to the freshman of Henrik Harburg, like we've got some games. We got some gamers. We've got some guys that can go out and ball out. And I don't think that Whipple is going to be hesitant to pull his beloved and betrothed, starter that I think Frost kind of had to do out of necessity because, like I said, it's not like there was an insane amount of talent or a short drop off between Martinez and number 2. That was the situation that Frost got himself stuck in. But it would not surprise me if it's Casey Thompson at number 1 with an asterisk with underlying that, like, you have to be proficient in all of these areas. And if you don't show competence and proficiency in any one of these areas consistently,
right.
Chubba's coming in. That's how I kind of interpret it, but that's just, I don't know. I don't have really much to base that off of other than just Mark Whipple's, football IQ and what we've seen from Chubba. So,
well, yeah, exactly. And you've got an interesting comment here from DS247 because I've cursed enough on this stream already. He says Smothers may get a start, but if it's not flowing the way Frost wants it to be, he may be swapped or maybe use multiple quarterbacks depending on the play type we are trying to do, which is an interesting thought. And my response is simple. Whipple has always been pass first, and I think he's going to be the guy that's calling most of the plays. And I truly don't think Smothers plays much at quarterback unless it's in a wildcat package inside the 20. So in this quarterback race talk, do you think that Smothers even is in the conversation, or is Whipple looking more at guys like Heinrich Harburg and Richard Torres to develop for the future? And maybe Frost is talking with Smothers about moving and being kind of that switchblade, or that not switchblade,
Swiss Army knife.
But Swiss Army knife. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Because a switchblade only does one thing, and that's click and stab. Whereas a Swiss Army knife can do a lot of stuff. And I think Smothers has a lot of tools they can use. What do you think about Smothers in this QB race?
Yeah, I hate to say it because I've been a Smothers apologist for well, since he basically got recruited.
Right.
I just don't think he has the tool set necessary in order to do what Mark Whipple wants to get done. Especially what he did in the small sample size that we got in the spring game. I was not impressed. It was sloppy looking. I hate to say it, but it was really sloppy looking.
Yeah.
And I do agree with you. And we've said this multiple times in previous podcasts, is that it would be one of those things where you sit down with Smothers, Mark Whipple and Frost sits down with Smothers and they say, hey, listen, you are an insane athlete and you've got a good arm. You've got a good arm for what you are capable of doing. You've got great legs, though. You've got great legs. You're insanely athletic. Let's have you get some reps with the wide receivers. Let's have you get some reps still as quarterback. Like, let's make you, like you said, a Swiss Army knife where you can run in there as a quarterback.
Right.
But you could also run in there as a slot receiver and just confuse the living crap out of everybody. And
then motion into the backfield and take a counter play like Luke McCaffrey did against Ohio State and Columbus that day.
Exactly.
That first drive. So you got to make defensive coordinators worry about the athletes that are on the field, and Smothers is about as athletic as anybody that's on that team as far as speed is concerned. So,
yeah, I mean, he reminds me of watching Smothers highlights back in high school. And then, of course, since he's been on our team, he reminds me a lot of Taylor Martinez. and just his speed, just his top speed, his acceleration and his top speed, both. He's got one of those rare things where he can accelerate insanely fast and he's got a really good top speed. It would be one of those things where, like I said, he's sitting down in a conversation with Whipple and Frost, and they say, like, hey, listen, there was an athlete that we had in this program that he is doing at a different school what we wanted him to do before he left. And he is going to be good at that job where he's at right now. Speaking of McCaffrey, let's try and do that for you. And you can be really successful. We really think you can be successful in this transition into a different skill set. I really truly think that's what they should do. I'm an ignoramus. Yeah, I don't know shit about shit. But I would hate to see Smothers leave to go play quarterback somewhere and have the same thing that happened to McCaffrey. He goes somewhere to play quarterback. They say, you're going to sit behind our starter. And then he goes, okay, well, I'm going to go play here at quarterback. And then he ends up at like University of Alabama, Birmingham,
right.
Which, I mean, honestly, that'd be cool. It'd be his home state and he'd play for the Blazers, which is a resurrected program. Like, good for you, dude. But you could do so much more with your skill set, your athleticism,
right?
If you were to just stick it out here. So that's a long-winded answer to say, no, I don't think he's a factor in quarterback.
Well, I appreciate your candor. Oh, man. Long way to go to say, hell no, he's not going to be a QB. But you know what? As I said, I think they're probably putting in some Wildcat stuff for him, just inside the 20. See him run out there with another quarterback, then they motion him into the quarterback spot, and maybe he does some zone read stuff or some RPO stuff or whatever. But yeah,